children were dirty, they were wearing torn, tattered clothes, there were just a few adults. There was very little electricity in this orphanage. As they showed us around, they took us to an outhouse that was the only toilet facility on the grounds that the children and adults shared. In this outhouse, there were 5 holes that were surrounded by some wooden structure. If you've ever been to an African or a developing nation and you've been into what they call squatty potties, there's nothing that you sit on. For those of us who are used to sitting on a toilet seat, seeing just a hole that you're literally supposed to straddle and squat over to do your business is a little bit on the intimidating side. You know, we don't know if we can aim very well, right? But this was who knows how old. It was dirty. There was urine and feces all over. There were a handful of teachers who were there during the day to teach the children in their classes, to prepare lunch and supper for them. But then, as night fell, these adults left. And the older kids, the older orphans up to age 16 were the ones in charge. And they had rooms divided by age. And I couldn't help but think of the cold January, February nights where the wind is blowing and the temperature's approaching 0 and the snow is whirling around. And you know children, they often have to get up and potty at 2 or 3 in the morning. And to think about these 5, 6, 7-year-olds bundling up by themselves, walking by themselves from their dorm to go a couple hundred yards to the outhouse that's not heated, that's not a toilet, there's no light to turn on, to find these holes by themselves and to do their business and to walk by themselves. It's incredibly heartbreaking. And to find out that at age 16, with these kids age out of the system, that many of the girls went into prostitution in order to survive, they became sex slaves in the sex trade industry and were exported to other countries. Many of the boys, they were too young to join the military, so they would get into drugs, they would get into criminal mobs sometimes in order to survive, and many of them didn't survive. We couldn't save all those kids, my wife and I, but we decided that we could help one. And so we began a 3-year process of adopting an orphan from Ukraine. He's been with us now for almost 11 years. We adopted him when he was 10 and a half years old. He's now 21. And that has been one of the biggest blessings and the greatest experiences for us in an entire life. We know that we can't change everything, but to neglect our opportunity because of how overwhelming the need is and do nothing is not correct either. So what can we do? How can you play a part in bringing social justice to our community, to our state, to our country, to our world? You have to listen to what it is that makes you righteously indignant. What truly pisses you off? And then do something about it. One of the most important things you can do is to learn. Don't live in an echo chamber. An echo chamber is a current catchphrase that we use whenever we talk about the fact that we surround ourselves with people, with news, with media, with information that already supports the views that we have. You live in an echo chamber. Think about what an echo does. You say something and it bounces back off of a structure and you hear the exact same thing back. When you're in an echo chamber, you're only hearing the same thing. True education happens, true learning happens when you also take in a various degree of opposing viewpoints. Anybody ever do debate club or something in high school or college? Yeah, look at all those hands. One of the most important things you did in debate club to prepare was opposition research. You learned both sides of an issue, right? Whenever I was teaching college and I would do debates in class, I would have every student prepare just as diligently on both sides of an argument. And I was teaching, remember, at an evangelical conservative Christian university. So we would debate things like abortion, where 99% of the students, faculty, and staff were what they call pro-life. I would have them prepare prepared just as rigorously for the pro-choice side of that debate. And I would not tell them what side they were going to debate until they got to class. I have a fun little plastic toilet that I call the commode of destiny. And I would put their names and topics in the commode of destiny, and they would go around and they would draw out of the commode of destiny, and I would let the fates determine what team they were on, what their topic was, and what their side was. This really infuriated students because that forced them to learn about the opposing sides of several issues. This is, I believe, something that's most important for us as adults to try to do. Don't live in an echo chamber. Learn about the issues. Participate in whatever type of activism motivates and moves you. You can do that by using social media to learn about events that are going on. One of the most important tools I've been using over the past couple of years since I moved to Florida is a great website called meetup.com. On Meetup, you can indicate what your interests are, and you can find other people, you can find groups, meetings, and events that match your own interest and participate in those. Here at First UU, we have a fantastic Justice Action Ministry. Yesterday at the New to UU class, we were talking about the many different activities that Justice Action has been involved in. The list is overwhelming and super impressive. The different type of organizations, the different events, the various social justice issues that people in this congregation participate in or have started or have built in this community is something that we should be very, very proud of. We have a lot of opportunities through our very own Justice Action Ministry. Social media is another good way to learn about opportunities. Some of us may not have the energy or the physical ability to get out and participate in some of these, but there's a lot you can do from your own home. You can participate in calling and writing campaigns to make politicians and others aware of your feeling on some of these issues. I don't want to underestimate the important role of contributing finances. None of these things happen for free. And if your role at this point in your life or at this season is simply to contribute finances to support what's happening, to support some of these social justice causes, that is essential to be able to do that. Also listen and encourage individuals who feel like they're marginalized, that they don't have a voice. It's been interesting and frustrating both over the past couple of months to hear so many people, men and women, come out and talk about their experience with sexual assault, sexual harassment in the workplace, in the communities, celebrities, politicians, musicians, television and movie stars have faced an awful lot of accusations, and they've handled it in different ways. You have to start by listening. Start by believing when someone confides in you their frustration or an experience that they're often scared to share. So listening and supporting is also something urgent and essential for us to do. This is not a time for passively waiting for others to do something. These are days for us as Unitarian Universalists to return to our activist roots, to work for the changes we want, to stand up for the marginalized, the voiceless, and yes, even for ourselves. This is a time to act on your righteous indignation. It's time to go beyond these difficult feelings of anger and frustration that we have and embrace an old maxim that says, judge us not by what we say, but by what we do. One of the songs that UUs like to sing and claim to a degree as our own is We Shall Overcome. As we know, this takes us back to a Negro spiritual that has been sung in one form or another for over 150 years. We've seen this song pop up in various settings, and it has a lot of different meaning to people, all of which are super important. We're going to sing that song now, but I also want to invite you to join me over in Ministers Hall later as we have fellowship time. I'm going to be sitting at a table and we'll do something that people often call ministers talk back. If you have something from this message, something on your mind, something about social justice that you'd like to chat with me and others about, just find me whenever I go and find a table to sit down, and let's have a chance to chat about some of these things. But now we have words for "we shall overcome" on the lime yellowish green colored paper. So if you would please rise in body or spirit.